Hey everybody, this is Bryce. Just wanted to give you a quick heads up before you head into this episode. We were having some audio issues in the middle of this recording. Just had some wires being wonky or whatever. So if you hear that in the episode, we didn't really have a lot of time. We had a lot of busy things going on. Tim is traveling this week, so we didn't really have any time to really fix any of those issues. So if you hear it, ignore it. We tried to fix it the best we could. Anyways, hope you still enjoy the episode. Remember to leave a like, share, subscribe, all the fun stuff, and let us know what you thought about the movie. Thanks. Hi, I'm Keanu Reeves. Welcome to the Average Podcast. I need a gun.
That was pretty good.
Thank you. I thought it was okay.
If you couldn't guess, we just came back from John Wick Chapter 4.
Yeah, John Wick Chapter 4. We are fresh out of the movie theater, and we are ready to review this one. Feeling pretty good about it overall. Tim, you want to just give a quick synopsis of where we're at with number 4?
All right, so number 4, if you are not caught up on all 4 of the John Wick movies, number 1, his wife dies.
Or how about number 1, just get on watching these movies?
Yeah, get on watching these movies. Number 1, his wife dies. We don't see that. That's already happened by the time we jump into it.
Yep.
And then she gives him this dog that is like in memory of her. And so John Wick has this dog, and then some Russian guys come and they kill the dog.
Russians.
And they awaken the Baba Yaga.
Ooh,
or the
Boogeyman.
Boogeyman. Yep. Which is what John Wick's professional name was.
Which
he
is
was
one
the
of the
Boogeyman.
best introductions to a character I've seen in cinema.
Yeah,
it's pretty awesome.
Also, don't kill people's dogs. That's like, I'm 100%. You have me rooting for John Wick immediately because you killed his puppy.
Well, you're also a dog owner, so
yes,
it
I am
really
a dog
hits
owner.
home for you.
It does. It does.
Lately, I've noticed like you and dogs in movies, like it just hits a lot different for you now, and I wonder if it's just
I would
because
hurt
you
people
have
to protect my dogs.
Yeah,
I get it.
It's super funny, but yeah. Anyway,
and that's what kicks this off. Like the first movie is a revenge story, basically about like you just showed up at my house because you wanted my car, and you killed my dog while you were at it, and I'm gonna make you regret those decisions. And this opens up a world that leads into like, well, the dog represented his wife. It was an emotional connection to his wife. So there was a little bit of depth there too. But then the second one, we open up this world of the table.
Right.
And we start to learn a little bit more about one of the great things this franchise does is we dive into the table. And it doesn't fully explain what the table is. It's like this underground secret organization of assassins, spies, a little bit of both, little like all over the world. And it's fascinating the more we learn about it and its hierarchy. And it has a particular aesthetic that is always just super pleasing, like this retro vintage old stuff being used in modern ways, like
also super obnoxious things being used, but in like a way that's kind of cold.
It's like fantastic.
Okay, that's actually kind of nice.
Like in the opening of 4, the hotel is being decommissioned, and the guy walks in and it's like, you have 1 hour to vacate the premises, and he pulls out this massive hourglass and just drops it on the desk and walks away.
But it's also like, this man is a bad man. So carry around an hour. Anyway, we're getting into
so anyways, 2 and 3, we kind of grow, like John opened up this world of the table when he got his revenge in 1. 2 and 3 kind of explore a little bit more about what this means. Everybody's after him. He's been excommunicated from the table, which means he should be dead. But he's the boogeyman, and they can't quite catch him.
The boogeyman,
and so that brings us to 4, where
we're picking up right after not literally right after the third movie, but it kind of picks up from where the third movie left off, where John kind of goes into hiding underground, and like it's all about revenge because his friend.
So 1, 2, and 3 literally back up right next to each other.
It's like
this one does have a little bit of a time jump, and whether that's couple days, couple weeks. At the end of number 3, he took a real bad hit and fall. And this one implies that time has passed and they've healed, and it could be months between. It doesn't really say, because that's not what's important. What's important is that in this one, Bill Skarsgård, also known as the Marquis, wants John Wick dead, and he kind of represents just about as high up in the table as you can get. He is the
without being the table.
without being the leader of the table. He is kind of the figurehead of the table at this moment, calling for John Wick's death. And that's it. He's paying a bunch of assassins a ton of money to like.
It almost feels like we should be like saying more for the story, but really it's a pretty straightforward story, like all these movies have been. So
the table watched John Wick dead, but John Wick is John Wick.
And guess what? Water's wet. Congratulations. Well, anyway, I guess
that's just enough for you to tune in and watch and see how.
Come back for another one, baby.
Another round.
A 3-hour long one.
Yep.
But anyway, yeah, let's just go ahead and jump right into it, I guess. No time to waste here. So, kicking off our list, as always, the wonderful story of these movies that we talk about. Would you like me to start?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, so I gave my story for this one a 3.
Oh, wow.
I mean, this I'll go back to what I said about the Scream movies. I go to a Scream movie to watch a Scream movie, okay? We've had enough John Wicks at this point that I go. You mean
you're not disappointed when you guess the killers in Scream in the first 20 minutes?
Okay, I see what you're doing here. Okay, but anyway, when I go to see a John Wick movie, I expect a John Wick movie, and guess what? That's what I got. Yeah. I got a really awesome, freaking cool John Wick movie. And at the end of the day, although the story is absolutely comprehensive, there is actually some deep stuff, lore within that story. I think at the end of the day, at its bare bones, it is still a pretty straightforward story of guy wants revenge. He's he's fulfilling his revenge through all these different tasks, but they're different side quests. And that's about as straightforward as it gets. I think more of the deep stuff comes later when we talk about some of the other parts of the movie. But for overall, I think it's not a bad thing. That's why I love so much about the John Wick movies. I love how straightforward these stories are. That it's just kind of point A to point B and then point C and so on. Like I give the 3 with my most flattering. I lost my train of thought. Sorry.
You give it a flattering.
I haven't eaten all day, and I just lost my train of thought. Oh, wow, coming in rough.
All right, well, I'll go ahead. I actually scored the story a 5.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm really
and
surprised.
I kind of sat and thought on it, and not every John Wick story would have a 5 out of 5 score for this, but this one took the action plot line and elevated it with a lot of story elements that brought an emotion in the end. It tied the story back to the very beginning in some beautiful ways. It packed way more emotion than I thought a John Wick movie had.
More than
any of them.
Most since the first one, at the very least. Which most of it comes at the beginning of the first one anyway. This one kind of like sprinkled it in throughout the whole movie.
And then 2 and 3 were just kind of like, let's watch some cool action scenes and learn a little bit more about the table. And then 4 is like, hey, we're going to make you care about John again. Yeah. Not just as an action hero, but as a human being.
Right, exactly.
And I thought that was a lot of credit to the story, slowing things down a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And also getting to know some of the other people on the table just a little bit more. Some of the other assassins had some great story elements that brought this.
Right, yeah.
Like, this movie centers around a duel. That's not a big spoiler. The duel is central to this film.
Mm-hmm.
But the 2 characters in the duel, this story makes us care about both of them.
Oh yeah, totally.
And that's incredible in an action movie where you're usually just like, yeah, let's watch John Wick raise the body count.
Which you still get that.
Let's not
mistake this.
But also, we go into the finale of this movie. We go into a couple of the action scenes going, I don't want any of these characters dead.
Which we'll get to that in the characters section.
Yeah, which really is to the credit of the story being told in this movie.
Yeah.
I think it is. I gave it a 5 because this is by far, this is an action movie.
Right, yeah.
And by far, this is the best storytelling I have ever seen in any action franchise.
Okay. Sorry,
like name action.
That was me thinking for a second.
Well, naming action franchises, I go
sometimes there'll be comments made where I just have to stop for like 5 seconds and think about it really hard.
Okay, name an action franchise.
Mission Impossible.
Yeah, this is better storytelling.
You could argue that.
Die Hard, better storytelling than any of them.
Well, those get worse over time. So.
The Bourne movies, better storytelling.
Okay, if you're counting all of them, I can understand. But like the first 3,
the first three were
First
great.
three were really great.
The first three were great, but
because
like,
we're including all movies, yes, the boring.
but the thing about this story is, I feel that from 1 to 4, it has been a complete and comprehensive
It's
story.
been a very consistent story. The entire. So I mean, to your credit, maybe I would bump mine up to a 4 possibly in that case, and I think you make a good point for that. So
All right.
anyway, what's up next?
I believe next is character arc. Character.
Is it character already? Man, I already lost track of it. Anyway, do you want to kick us off with that one?
Yeah, I'll give. So for this one, I gave character a 4.
Okay.
Okay.
Go ahead.
And I gave it a 4 because John Wick, they do a little bit to elevate him in this movie, a little bit more than just your action hero or the Baba Yaga. But that's still what he is at the end of the day. He's still got a little bit of emotion. But his particular character arc was nicely done in this, and the ending feels good. Like the character has gone on an emotional journey, a physical journey, very, very physical for John. But also a lot of the side characters in this movie are more memorable than any of the side characters from the previous movies.
There's something about this one specifically, whereas with the last 2 movies, we've kind of ended on cliffhangers, and credit to the last 2 movies. Like, I still think 2 has the best ending of all these movies so far. And
it's
3
the
was
Empire Strikes Back ending.
Yeah, and 3 was even like a really like satisfying ending too. But they were all cliffhangers. This one actually kind of feels more like what 1 was, where it's kind of like it's a little bit more of a relief in your ending for this movie. And we won't obviously we won't get into spoilers with this movie, but like this one felt like a callback to 1, where it was a little bit more of like let's take a deep breath for a moment. Like it was kind of nice. Actually,
I felt like for this movie, John Wick's arc was done. What started in number 1, his story has come to a conclusion for this particular story. What he opened up in number 1. That's closed now.
Which it would show, because you made the comment beforehand that they said they were going to be taking breaks from these movies. So whether or not that means there's another one possibly being made, it's like, okay, well, hopefully it comes sooner, because I really love these movies.
Exactly. I love these movies as long as the director stays attached.
Yeah, it's like, but it was nice to take that deep breath with this one and just be like, oh, wow, we can breathe for a second.
This one is a nice bookend on if we get John Wick, the sequel story, chapter 1, John Wick 2, chapter 1, I don't know. But like, I feel like his character really, I guess the 4 would be from the character we met in 1 to wrapping it up in 4. He's been on a journey. It's not the most revolutionary journey, but as far as action movies go, it's a compelling journey for that character. It's a good journey. It's got some more depth than you would expect in these films.
Yeah, totally. I totally agree.
And if you just casually watch them, you might not catch it, but 4 really like forces you to pay attention.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good way to put it. So for my character, I actually gave it a 5. And my reasoning
Bryce gave something a 5.
I feel attacked, but I'll let that one slide.
Well, you gave Puss in Boots 5, so it's fine.
That's for movies to come. I gave it a 5. I don't think there's a single character I did not thoroughly enjoy in this movie.
No, I want to see them all again.
Yeah, like I was literally thinking about this the whole ride home. It was just like, because like I was looking at character when I originally scored, I was like, I just gave it a 5. I didn't even really think that hard about it, because I'm thinking back to all these characters. All these characters were just so great in their roles, like, and that has nothing to do with acting. We'll get to that later. But like all these characters just had personalities that just burst out on the screen in the environments, and they use it to like either their fighting style or the way that they speak, and it all goes so well together. It's hard to talk about the one individual thing.
Well, and you bring it around there, like you mentioned, fighting style. Fighting style in these movies is very much a part of the character.
Yeah, it's a part of the character and who they are, and you see that from beginning to end. There's not a single character I would not love to see again in a John Wick movie. They are all phenomenal.
There's 2 of them that I want to spin off immediately.
Oh yeah, there's one of the villains. I forgot. I think it's Marco. Zanor, is that how you say his name? I think plays him. He's like a Kingpin-esque character in this universe.
Yeah.
And he's easily,
and by Kingpin we mean he's like 7 feet tall,
he's literally
600 pounds.
the cartoon version of Kingpin in this movie. And I'm trying to think in the universe of John Wick, he's probably one of my favorite characters.
I have never seen John Wick be handled the way this guy handles John Wick. Like, it was smacks him
so
around.
like it was so great. I loved every character of this movie. 5 out of 5.
You want to see a spinoff of him? I want a spinoff of Akira like tomorrow.
Oh no, I would want that too. I don't think I need a spinoff of him specifically. I think he made a phenomenal villain that I would have loved to see more of. But he definitely did his part for the movie.
The other character I would love to watch a whole movie about, because I want to know the story. I want to know more about who this person is. Was Mr. Nobody or I guess he's referred to as Tracker on IMDb.
Well, yeah, because that's what John Wick says. But when he first meets him, Tracker, that's what he said.
But he's just this. You don't know anything about him, but he's a character. By the end of it, you're like, I like this guy.
Right. That's a spinoff you could make. Like, I mean, you could make one of like any of these side characters that were.
I would watch all of them.
Yeah. So yeah, but yeah, 5 out of 5. I loved every single character. It was great. So next on the list, we
move into music and sound.
Oh, I'm kind of excited to talk about this one. I'm not gonna lie.
Okay. Well,
do you want to go first?
I gave it a 5.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, I gave it a 5, and I'm not like music alone 3 or 4. I was telling Bryce before the movie, some John Wick songs, they're all kind of like club beats with classical string elements. It's very unique. And some of them I love, some of them I never want to hear again. So it's a give and take for me. But this movie, I actually liked all of the music.
Yeah.
There's one scene in I think it was in New York, where the music comes in and it just sounds discordant and like dissonant, and it doesn't sound good.
Oh, you're talking about the one when they went to Berlin.
Yeah, it doesn't sound good. Really, and then it starts building and you're like, okay, this is good. And that was a really weird song and I loved it and I want to hear it again. But what takes us to a 5 to me is just the sound effects in this movie.
Oh my gosh.
Glass breaking, the punches, the kicking, the guns,
gunfire,
the cars.
The punches, like at the beginning, because you see in the trailer when he's punching a board, like that's at the beginning of the movie, and like just the thud that goes with that. It's just, and you got, I almost said Morbius. You got Lawrence Fisher, like kind of saying this little speech or whatever while he's punching it. It's just like, it's just a boom, and you hear him say some more words.
He's quoting Shakespeare, I believe.
It's Shakespeare, I think.
And then he adds his own little ad lib to it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's fantastic.
So good.
No, the sound effects in this movie, and another way they elevate that in this movie, which every movie tries to like one up the previous movie. Like, hey, you've seen a fist fight, but have you seen a fist fight in moving traffic before? No, we're gonna do that. But this one has I'm going to refer to him as a boss, because John Wick is full of boss fights.
It's a video game.
Yep. It's a movie video game. But one boss is blind. And so they really lean into how he uses sound to orient himself.
Right.
So you'll see him like tap his cane on things and he fights with the cane, and you'll see him tap his cane just to know where he's at. Or he uses sensors that act as doorbells at one point, so that when somebody passes them, they chime, and then he knows where they're at. And I thought that was a clever use of sound that the sound editing actually really enhanced and brought to the forefront.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. So for your boy here, I actually gave this a 4. After some careful thought of, it just kind of came down to, I agree with you, like the sound editing for all the action sequences, top notch. It was really, really well done. You feel every punch. You like every shot kind of just rings out in the theater. I think it kind of just came down to, as much as I really love the music, I'm going to check out the soundtrack, because I was getting into a lot of these songs. At times it just kind of felt a little repetitive, and they kind of, even though it is repetitive, they utilize it in a bunch of different ways depending on location and what's going on in the scene. And so I think a very high for the music and sound effects here. It's really, really clean and well done.
All right, so that takes us into editing and effects. Which,
whoo, baby. I'll kick us off here. You ready for this?
Go for it.
Boom. 5 out of 5. Perfect.
5 here, too.
Literally, how can you watch this movie and not give it a 5 out of 5? How can you watch any of these movies and not give them 5 out of 5?
The editing isn't, like, to make these fights look as real as they do, your editor has to be on top of it.
You know,
but that's also, that goes into my direction in acting as well later.
Which we will get there.
But, like, the editing is just so precise in this film and so good.
One thing I'll bring up, I can't remember what movie I'm thinking of specifically, but there's this one movie that has this atrocious fight sequence where the camera is like on a bungee cord and it's just bouncing up and down nonstop, like with every
Black
cut.
Panther? Oh, sorry.
Also not the greatest fight sequence,
The
but
video game fight sequence.
Oh gosh. Yeah, but one thing I hate more than anything in action movies is excessive shaky cams. Obi-Wan, the TV show, is a great example of where we could have had a cool fight, even though it meant nothing at the end of the day because of what happens in episode 4.
I forgot that movie or that
It's
show.
a show. See, you don't remember it's a TV show. But I remember watching that last fight sequence, and I was just nauseated with how much shaky cam was going on. This movie just nails the camera work for fight sequences. Like,
well, and I think there's a time and a place for the shaky cam.
oh no, totally.
So, like,
I agree.
Lord of the Rings would be an argument for
Yes.
appropriate use of shaky cam.
Yeah, they use it really,
It's
really well.
Really gritty, like really close combat. That feels like the appropriate use of shaky cam.
So it's a specific
But
way
this-
to like shoot it in a gritty way.
Yeah.
This one kind of still feels gritty. It's almost like, I don't know. There's like there's a lot of shots where it feels like in this environment where these fights are taking place, the camera is almost like the view of the items in the room. It's sort of like, you know, when glass gets shattered, or when books get thrown around. It's almost like, I don't know. It's hard to explain, but like these items within this room, you're kind of watching from their point of view of how this fight is going down. And the camera's just kind of getting thrown around with these people, or when stuff gets like tossed around in a room. I don't know. That's a weird way of like thinking about it, but that's just how I was like watching this movie. It was just like I was a part. The camera itself was a part of the environment and what was going on. And they do that. And they do that with a lot of the cool shots in the movie with some of the fight sequences. And so I don't know. That's just the way I was processing this movie as I was watching it. I thought that was just a fun way to watch the fight sequences and not deal with all the shaky cam we get in a lot of movies. So yeah, 5 out of 5. It's just perfection.
all right, so jumping into script. Script is next.
Go ahead and kick us off with that one.
So I gave the script a 5, actually.
Oh my.
Yeah.
I'm actually kind of surprised.
Well, and I'll explain that in the acting. There were
wait, you're gonna judge the acting
There
with
were-
the script?
Nope. I'll explain why. The script was very smart in what lines it gave to Keanu Reeves and what lines it gave to everybody else.
Okay, interesting. Way to look at it.
Yes, because there are some great little nuggets of wisdom spoken by Winston, Ian McShane's character.
Yeah.
There are some great lines from him. Lawrence Fishburne has some amazing dialogue. Even Donnie Yen's character has some amazing moments in the script. The script has a lot of depth to it for an action movie. There's a lot of heart, a lot of depth. Even like we talked about earlier on the story, a lot of the fight scenes come with this like, I don't want either of these people to lose. And it's made quite clear throughout the movie that Donnie Yen doesn't want to kill John Wick, but his daughter is kind of being held hostage. Like,
right. Yeah.
he kills John or she dies. And the script does an excellent job of conveying that, like, he doesn't want to do this, but he's doing it to save his daughter.
Totally.
And that is credit to the script. And I think it was a smart move on what you gave to your title character and what you didn't.
Okay.
So that's why I gave it a 5.
I think that's very forgiving. I gave mine a 4 for the reasons exactly why you were saying, where while I agree that it is absolutely very smart to give Keanu Reeves as little to say as possible in a movie, I think it still kind of sticks out as a sore thumb at times. I don't want to say it derails any tension you may be feeling, but there are definitely the moments where it's like that should hit a lot harder than it did. And it's like you audibly laughed a lot in this movie when he delivered.
Well,
some
and
lines.
that's why, like, I don't have a problem with the line that was said. I have a problem with his delivery.
Okay,
that's why
fair.
I said I'll give it to, because I think the lines fit who he is and who he's
totally.
supposed to be. His delivery, like, I'm going to kill you, and I'm like, I don't believe that for a second. I'm laughing.
You're
I'm
too
sorry.
kind.
It
You're
was
gonna
so funny.
You're gonna be nice. I think. No, I think it just kind of sticks out. I agree. I think that giving him little lines is less lines is better, but I still think overall it kind of sticks out. But I don't think it takes away a lot from the movie that you can't again put on the acting. So I think I land comfortably still with a 4 out of 5 there. which then takes us into what was that again? That was script. That takes us into acting.
So this should take us into acting. Yes. All right. So this is, I actually couldn't dock it as much on acting as I thought I would. So I gave the acting a 4.
Okay.
Okay.
I figured that'd be right.
And because I love Keanu Reeves.
Who doesn't? I think.
But he's not really the greatest actor.
I think everyone would agree with you.
But also he's fantastic. So like I have this battle of like some of those lines. We talked about the delivery of those lines was just a little like I laughed out loud at some of them, and it's not like it's
not making fun of him.
No, he sounds too nice.
It's just way too nice
like
for a guy that's supposed to be a cold killer.
Yeah, he's playing this cold-blooded killer. Well, not cold-blooded. He's playing this cold killer. And he just sounds like the nicest guy you've ever met. And I'm like, I'm sorry. I don't believe that you're going to kill that guy because you didn't, like, the delivery was just not there for me. What brings it up to a 4 is this guy does all his own stunts.
Yeah, no, that's true.
Like, he's physically acting this entire film, and it's incredible.
He knows what he's doing with these movies.
We've seen behind-the-scene footage of him using the gun the same way John Wick does, and he's probably just as good as the character that he's playing. Like, he makes the character believable in a physical sense.
Right, exactly.
And so I can't fully take the acting away from that because physically he does the job. Mm-hmm. Whereas he delivers some weak lines. He delivers some good lines too. The softer moments with his friends are pretty good deliveries and touching moments. But the moments that he's trying to be just this BA character,
outside of that one like Berlin sequence where he comes back to that one group and you know and he's kind of like negotiating with them, like outside of that one sequence, which actually kind of did hit, I was like, he needs to do more of that, whatever that was, because that was nice. Well, as you were saying, like
I like some of the scenes with him and Winston. Like, those scenes were good, those were solid. But the supporting cast in this is fantastic. Yeah, like we talked about, not just are the characters interesting, but the actors who deliver these characters are all fantastic. And like we already said, I want to watch a movie about any one of these characters.
Yeah, because it's funny, these movies are absolutely like comic book movies. Like, it is, like we said, there's a lot of stuff they do that seems ridiculous, but like the way they execute it, it just comes off as like the most, it just comes off as the coolest thing you've seen in like an action movie. If like the hourglass at the beginning, it's like, that's such a ridiculous idea, but the way he went about it is like, that was so awesome. Like, I would do that too.
And I would love to see more comic book movies kind of take that approach, or even like, I think what we talked about earlier, the best description for these movies is a video game.
Yeah, it's the best video game adaptation.
It is a passive video game, and it's amazing.
Yeah. So I mean, for acting, I lamp with you. I gave it a 4 out of 5. My only knock was just that, again, like the script, it's noticeable with Keanu's acting when he says some lines, and it's enough to be noticeable throughout this movie. That's the only reason I knocked it a 4, because otherwise I think everyone does a phenomenal job. Everyone flawlessly executes their fight sequences. It's like,
incredible to see.
I can't remember his name, but he needs to get all the credit in the world. Their stunt coordinator. Oh, yeah. He also did Birds of Prey, if I'm not mistaken. This guy is just, he used to be Keanu's like stunt coordinator for like his earlier stuff, if I'm not mistaken.
His stunt double, or
no, sorry, the director used to work with Keanu.
Yeah, he was Keanu's stunt double in the Matrix.
Like, and yeah,
this has far surpassed the Matrix series.
Oh yeah, but man, that subway fight sequence at the end of 1, it was still really good. But yeah, those guys deserve so much credit for making some of the greatest fights literally ever, if not the best fights ever put to screen. Yeah, like I try, like the Bourne movies are great. I think they still have some flaws in the fighting and camera work at times. But these movies, I struggle to find another movie where the fighting sequences are just so flawless. Yeah, and like just makes sense with everything. Like I guess the Creed movies are a good example where I don't like those fights as much because that's just not what fighting really is in boxing. But like I made the comment to you, I love how they use like their actual.
You could jump into directing with this because you're really talking about how the action scenes are directed.
Well, yeah, we can do that. So. I also gave that a 4 as well. Okay. and it has nothing to do with this. But I was gonna say, like, just the way that they actually take like real life fighting styles and actually put that to a big screen, that makes logical sense. Like, these people are gassed in these fights. They have to start using their momentum more than their strength. And the way that they use the women character in these movies is a perfect example of how to use a woman character to
this movie
fight
has
bigger,
my favorite.
Yeah, this is how you use women to actually fight bigger and better and stronger men. They use their momentum and their agility to just annihilate these guys in a way that makes total sense. Sorry, just wanted to get that off my chest. Atomic Blonde was the one I was thinking of when I was thinking of that. I was like, yeah, okay. But yeah, anyway, going into direction, I gave it a 4 out of 5. I think the biggest thing of this movie where I knocked it was like, you can kind of feel the 3 hours by the end. I think it feels a little shy of 3 hours, but this is easily the longest one of all of them, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
And you kind of feel that towards the end. I don't think you'll get sick of it necessarily if you're...
I never wanted it to wrap up.
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of like, okay, I could see how this might turn off some people because it is a long movie, and if you struggle to get through the first 3 already, you're really going to probably struggle to get through this one. The fight sequences are longer, it feels like. There's a lot more of them. But
like the end of the opening act fight sequence is something you would see in like the climax of a normal action movie.
Pretty much, yeah. And that's what makes them all great.
Yep.
But that's my biggest knock, honestly, because otherwise I felt like the movie had pretty good pacing overall. I mean, for a John Wick movie,
yeah.
It's everything you've come to expect from your other ones. I don't think you'll be super surprised, other than you might feel the 3 hours by the end of this, but I don't think that will necessarily... I don't think that hurts the movie in any way. It's just noticeable.
I gave the direction a 5, actually. There are some just beautiful shots in this movie and some stunning...
There really was.
Stunning setup. And I've never seen a franchise approach fighting like art, like this does.
Yeah.
Because it's not just about the fight scenes, it's about where the fight is taking place in a lot of these.
Right.
And the sets themselves they don't feel like sets, first of all. They feel like we are in the real world situation. They went on location to shoot. And just the way that's all orchestrated as a piece of art.
That was the movie I was thinking about with really good fight sequences also.
Okay.
Sorry. Anyway, keep going.
But I think of like in the second one, there's the fights in the mirrors. Like that is so incredibly done. The third one, just the fight at the Continental itself at the end, the setting.
Yeah.
This one we talked about the building being renovated and shooting it from above. Like the director sets the stage for these, and it's so well thought out and it's so well shot the entire time. Bryce was talking about how like the Bourne movies, their fight scenes are quick cuts.
Yeah, very fast cuts.
These movies will be like a minute long of just these guys throwing themselves around, no cut.
Oh yeah, and sometimes it's a still shot. Sometimes it's a camera kind of just moving, going around the room. Like they get very creative with it.
Oh, it
tells a story. Honestly,
yeah, it is fantastic to watch. But there's other like this movie. I thought he elevated it where the end of the first act when they're in Japan.
Yeah.
But the end of the first act, there's like a sword duel that goes down, and it's just the lighting is fantastic.
It's a good set piece.
The set piece is really fantastic. Pretty. It's beautiful to see, and you're like, some violence is about to happen. But this looks amazing. But also at the beginning of that whole sequence, we walk up to this rooftop, and the guy sees John, and he goes, I hope you are at peace. And you just cut to John, and there's this beautiful white flowering tree. I believe it's a lotus tree.
Might have been.
And then there's this neon lights behind him, and you're just looking at John after his friend says, I hope you're at peace. And everything is washed red and black. And I'm like, he doesn't have to speak for you to know that he's not at peace.
Yep.
And that is something the director conveyed without, like, John eventually does speak, but like, the message was there in the imagery alone. We didn't need that.
Totally.
And I'm like, that to me elevated it to a 5. This is an action movie done better than any action movie I've ever seen.
Yeah, I think that is a very, very compelling argument.
It was artistic.
Yeah, absolutely. So that takes us into our it factor. You want to kick us off, or
Yeah, it's this one I kind of struggled with. It's a bit too soon to tell.
Right, I agree.
But based on the fandom of the John Wick franchise, I did give it a 5.
Okay.
Because this is one that I was not upset about the ending. I was not like, I feel like this is a great story that will satisfy John Wick fans.
Totally. Yeah.
And the biggest knock against it probably for the box office is going to be its 3-hour runtime.
Yeah.
Most people aren't going to go watch a 3-hour action movie if there's an hour and a half one available.
Yeah.
But that's where this really rises above action movies. So we'll see if 5 stands the test of time or if this drops off. But I have a feeling like reviews are already just raving about this film. And I kind of think that's the trajectory this movie will take.
Yeah, they haven't confirmed a 5 yet, have they? I think they've only said that they're just going to take a break for a little bit, I think.
Yeah.
So nothing's been confirmed.
No, nothing's been confirmed after this.
So, I mean...
But let's hope for some spinoffs, because once you see these side
Well, they are doing the spinoff of the ballerina from the third movie?
Third one, yeah.
Yeah, so they are doing one of that. That'll be interesting. But, I mean, this world is rich of characters to do spinoffs of, so... Yeah, I like you. I also struggled with the F factor for the same exact reasons, and I landed on a 4 eventually. Yeah, I think time will tell with these movies. I think the first 3 have aged really, really well. I can only imagine that these are going to continue to age. I agree. I think the consensus is that John Wick, at least of the past, 10, 15 years, is the best action.
It's been almost 10 years since the first one.
Has it already?
I think it was 2015.
So yeah, I can easily say from the first one, it's the best action movies to have come out for the last 10 years since that first one came out.
And we were talking about before the movie even started how it's kind of got all from the same company too, but the copycats following Nobody.
Well, Nobody, Atomic Blonde. What was the other one I'm thinking of?
What's the one that we saw the trailer for? That it's like the same idea, Susie
or something.
Yeah,
like that?
But it takes place. Takes place in the 1950 or
with
whatever.
Nazis, yeah.
It's the same idea, but like it's inspired these copycats for these great action films.
Well, and I think Nobody was made by the same guys still, so I think
he didn't direct it, but it was same.
It was
same
kind of same people though.
Yep.
So, and it was still great. Nobody's a great movie too.
And that's another thing about the directing is this guy, Chad Stahelski. These are the only movies he's directed.
I know, isn't that crazy?
He's directed John Wick 1 through 4. That's it. I'm like, this guy's an artist. Give him more.
Please.
He's a stunt coordinator for tons of movies.
Oh, yeah. But he's probably the best right now in Hollywood. And whoever his team is, at least. I won't give credit to all of them. They do a phenomenal job. But I think
give him a Batman movie.
Give him a We could really use some good Batman fights like the Bat flick. Anyway, but I landed on 4 out of 5. I think time will tell. Like I agree, the 3-hour runtime is definitely going to turn a lot of people off. I think to this movie specifically, I think this movie will still do phenomenal in the box office. I know this is only day 1, I think, of it so far.
We're seeing it opening day.
Yeah, we saw it opening day. So I think, we have the weekend. We'll see what happens by the time people listen to this, but I think it's going to do great still. All these movies have done phenomenal. I think over time, I think this will be held up there as one of those Godfather movies of like action films. And
when people like it, I don't know if it's bold enough to say, but like when people speak of like Enter the Dragon and like legendary fighting martial arts movies, this franchise.
Well, yeah, because right now when you think action movies, I usually think, well, let's see, we got Terminator, we got Aliens, we got The Raid. Like those are the movies that come to mind. Like, and John Wick is still in there, but it doesn't like quite come out like those ones do right away for me. And so I think that's why I gave it a 4, because like I don't think it won't get there. I think over time it probably will get there, but I still think we're just kind of living in the moment of it, and we'll look back fondly on these movies. But as for right now, just a 4 out of 5, and I feel really confident about that.
Yeah.
So
all right, you want to go?
Yeah, we got just entertainment and then final thoughts and final scores. I can start us off.
Yep.
So I gave it a 9 out of 10. Again, kind of same thing with the other ones I docked. I could feel kind of like the length of this film, and so there were times where I was kind of like just kind of waiting for the next thing, but I wasn't like disinterested in what was going on. But I was still thoroughly entertained throughout this for a 3-hour action movie where you could argue 3/4 of it is fighting the whole time. man, it is so much fun. Just so much fun.
I wasn't checking my watch.
Yeah, no, me neither. I wasn't either. Like, this was just a good time to have. Like, it's great because this was another movie where we got to have an entire theater to ourselves, so we were free to react however we felt like with this movie. And the amount of just when people are getting thrown into cars and like beaten down, it's like, this movie is just a blast. Like, this, with all these movies, they're all fun. They're all just phenomenal, well choreographed and shot movies. It's a 9 out of 10. It's so good. I can't say enough. My final score then comes to a 42, I believe. It's 42 out of 50, which is in the amazing category, I do think. He's looking it up right now. And I mean, I'll kind of share.
So yeah, 42 puts it in amazing.
Yeah. As for a couple of quick final thoughts, I think what I love most about these John Wick movies is each one has like a specific thing that makes it stand out compared to the other ones, that it does better than the other ones, if that makes sense.
Not just in terms of fight sequence, but like each of them has
something specific within it that really helps it stand out compared to the others. Like, I would say before seeing this movie, 2 was probably my least favorite of the 3, whatever that's supposed to mean, because I like all of them like kind of equally. It's hard to say I don't like one, or say I like one more than the other, because like I just enjoy all of them. But what I really like about 2, I think the ending is the best ending that we've had in all the John Wick movies. The ending is phenomenal. 3 probably has the best choreographed fights of all the movies, but 1's like story overall just felt a lot tighter and stronger, just because of how much more straightforward it was, and just how much more brutal and personal that one felt compared to the other 2. And that's nothing to take away from any of these movies, because they're all so unique and special in what they set out to accomplish for that part of the story, I should say. And after probably sleeping on this one, I'll probably find something that I really liked. I think for this one, I can already tell that I'm thinking like the set pieces specifically.
The set pieces in this
it's just like, man, they got creative with a lot of these set pieces, and they used it to full effect with the fight sequences.
Final set piece.
Oh my god, it's so simple and it's so mundane, and yet they still somehow make it so much fun to watch.
It's incredible.
So yeah, final thoughts. I think it's great. You should go see it. John Wick fans are not gonna be disappointed. If you just like action movies, you will be thoroughly entertained. I think it's worth your admission ticket.
I gave it an 8 out of 10.
Okay.
I did think some of the slow parts, not that they were detrimental to the story, but in a 3-hour runtime, it kind of dragged. Yeah. I thought the beginning was taking its sweet time. It paid off.
Interesting. Yeah.
It does pay off. I'm not saying, but like that did like, okay, let's move on.
Right. Yeah.
But like you said, each of the movies kind of has their unique flavor. For me, like I have a problem with one. Maybe it was just the way I was streaming it, but like the audio in one is poor.
Interesting. I think I need to rewatch one then. Which I'm always down for.
So I was rewatching it, and there's like scenes when it's raining, and I'm like, I can barely hear the dialogue.
Oh, yeah, at the end.
Loud.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
And I was like, I didn't enjoy that much of it, that element of it. For 2, I actually really enjoyed 2 because 2 kind of took, like, since we just came off Scream, it took Scream's rules of a sequel. Body count has to be higher.
Right.
Kills have to be more extravagant. Set pieces have to be more like, it took the rules of a slasher movie and applied it to an action movie and just went nuts with it. And then 3 steps it back, and we bring focus more to the table and a little bit of the intricacies of how things work in the table. And then that's the fascinating part about 3. And then this one kind of takes it to the origins of the table. Like taking it back to the roots almost.
Yeah.
And then it takes us back to John Wick's roots and really the heart of everything going on. And I love the journey. Like I gave it an 8 because I didn't think it was a perfect 10 out of 10 enjoyment for me.
Right. Yeah.
There was like towards the beginning, I was like, okay.
There's some downtime.
Let's go.
Yeah, that's fair to say.
And there were just like, we went from huge fight scene to nothing for a little bit.
Yeah.
And then huge fight scene. we almost spent too much time with Marquis.
Yeah, I think that's
like
fair.
there were some of his scenes that I was like, I don't need all this.
Yeah, I'd say the meat and potatoes are definitely in the middle section of this movie.
It's between John Wick and the Japanese characters.
See, I like the Berlin section a lot.
Oh, the Berlin section is good, but I'm talking about.
Oh, you're talking. Okay, gotcha.
You like, Skarsgård does a fantastic job, but I'm like he
kind of feels underutilized a little bit.
Like I almost expected more from him.
Yeah, and maybe that's just expectations going into the movie that
because it's Skarsgård.
Yeah. He's great.
You expect more, but
check those expectations.
But it's also like I'm not unhappy with what they did.
No, he was still a good villain.
It was almost too much of him where he might have been more menacing if we had seen less of him.
Yeah, I can understand that.
So I gave it an 8. So that brings my actual final score, I believe, is 45.
Okay.
Which between the two of us, that takes the score to a 43.5, putting it in the amazing category.
Rightfully so.
I mean, most action movies are good or great. This is amazing. It's an amazing film. Any
final thoughts you have on the movie overall?
No, if you haven't seen any of the John Wick movies,
what are you doing?
Yeah, they are more. It started as a revenge action flick and has grown into like a genre-defining franchise.
We both made the comment that the world that John Wick resides in itself is a character.
Yeah. It's totally bereft of police.
Yeah,
but
like, you think Gotham City is like one of the few cities that has a personality. I think John Wick, the world that John Wick lives in, has a personality of its own.
They have teleporters. It's really cool. Because in one scene, John Wick will be in Japan, and literally the next cut, he's walking down the streets of like New York. So
it's super funny.
It's pretty fascinating. So the only form of transportation they apparently have in this world are, cars and subways.
He retains his powers from the Matrix and can fly where he needs to.
he just
pops on the sunglasses and then the trench coat and just like shoots up in the air.
And I'm not even mad about it because like one scene he's in Japan at night and then the very next cut could be Berlin in the morning, and you're like, I assume a day just passed. I assume that took time. I don't know if we just went from a dark scene to a light scene.
I don't really know the timing, really, honestly.
No, I'm not mad about any of it.
I'll suspend the belief. I love it.
It's just a cool superpower people in this world have.
But yeah, I mean, go see this movie. I'd say that really about wraps it up. I think this movie is pretty awesome.
Yeah, just go watch it. When you do, send us your score. We will update the scores the more scores we get.
Yeah, no.
So just because we posted it doesn't mean that score is done. I
don't think people realize we like take everyone's scores and like we continuously like update what the score is going to be.
So right now, at the time of recording on opening night, we have me and Bryce.
Right.
Those are the scores we have. If we get scores through the weekend, I'll plug you in the post. We'll tag you. We'll get your score, and your score changes the average for the movie. So right now, at time of recording, it's 43.5.
And who knows? Maybe we might even do something fun with that at the end of the year, where we take literally everyone's scores and just kind of throw it in there when we talk about, if we do like a recap episode or something. I think that'd be super cool.
By Tuesday, when this goes up, the score could go up to 47. It could drop to 39, and that all depends on you guys listening.
Literally. So go out and watch the movie. Go watch it. It's so good.
Go watch the movie. Send us your score. Then head over to our Instagram, The Average Reviews. Click that scorecard. Mm-hmm. Let us know what you watch. It doesn't have to be this. Any movie you see.
Any movie.
I see a movie, and the first thing I do is go to Instagram and score it myself so that it's here.
Yeah, I'm literally looking for movies to like write reviews for the social media that we don't record on episodes. So like, if you guys, that's another thing. Give us movies to watch. Also, we're starting to run out actually of our viewer requests.
We have 2 viewer requests. One that we are
coming
ready
up here real soon, actually.
One that we're about to record soon, and then one that we still need to get down and watch. But
yeah, we could use more of those.
So actually, I'll tell it because the episode will go up after this one.
It should.
But the next one we're gonna get up is Puss in Boots:
The Last Wish, which is on Peacock. So for those who are interested,
it is streaming on Peacock. I can tell you right now, the scores in this room are divided. So
Fight Night Part 2.
Yeah, Fight Night Part 2. But your scores will make a difference in that final score. So let us know which side of the fight you're on. Is Puss in Boots: The Last Wish overrated or is it a masterpiece?
I like how he's already
Let us
setting
know.
the stage.
Let us
And
know.
Final thing before we leave, make sure you like, subscribe, follow, and if you can, leave a review also on Spotify.
Yes, please.
That really does help with the algorithms and everything. I've noticed we do get a lot of views, but man, we could use some likes and comments. Let us know what you think in the
And
comment
share.
section. Yeah, share it too.
If you were there to score and we tagged you, share that.
Yeah, the more we're doing this, the more we're really enjoying like getting feedback from people, and that just means the more people's feedback we want as we continue to do
We're
this.
just having fun with this, and we want
I
you to
know.
have fun with us too. I
Please.
love reading scores. One of my least favorite things about seeing a movie opening night is that we don't have your comments for it.
I know that is
That
like the
is-
one downside to like
Yeah.
seeing a movie right away. But anyway, just wanted to throw that out there. Otherwise, thanks for listening to another episode of The Average Podcast. We hope to see you guys in the next episode.
Yeah, you'll hear us next week.
Absolutely. See ya.